Martin, we've had the chance to come out and obviously look around your property today. And I would say I'd made a few assumptions, but I'd never been to a business like yours, especially one that probably timing-wise allowed us to come at the worst possible time. You've got brand new birds coming, you've got sheds going up, you've got a facility that you've got someone from Malaysia helping to bring the tech into your new processing facility that only was commissioned 10 days ago. So it's just a normal week for you, and you decided that we'd come and film as well. So thank you for having us.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Well, I think originally it was going to be a few weeks earlier, and it's been a long time in the calendar. So, yeah, I don't think there would have been any perfect week at the moment. So,
Mate, I'd love for you just to explain to our audience a little bit about, like, obviously you guys are farming eggs here, but the business, there's a whole lot more behind that. So can you just explain a little bit about where we are and what you guys farm here?
yeah, so we're here about an hour north of Adelaide, near a place called Tarlee, and it's where my dad's side of the family, has been for a number of years. His father grew up just down the road, and then Dad grew up here. And in 1957, they decided to venture out from doing cropping and sheep and get a few chickens for some eggs as a bit of a side hustle. And yeah, it's sort of grown since then, and here we are.
When you guys look at your business, how do you prioritise Roady's eggs over, say, the cropping or the sheep business?
Well, they're two separate businesses, but there is a lot of overlapping resources. And yeah, we rely on the help of each other and always have. So it's during, I guess, harvest takes a fair bit of priority when that's happening, and seeding a bit the same. But the egg business is pretty consistent all year round. There's not too many days off on the egg side of things.
And so you guys have never, like you personally, have never, I guess, not worked here where there hasn't been eggs. But if you take me back to your childhood, like what was it like growing up here, and what side of agriculture, if any, interested you?
Yeah, I think growing up, I probably never gravitated towards the cropping and the sheep. It was something that I always did a bit, always helped out, sort of had to, doing this, working in the shearing shed and those sorts of things, helping in harvest. But I probably never saw it as something that I would really want to do long term. And I remember growing up thinking, I'm a son of a farmer who's a son of a farmer, and thought, yeah, I need to make that decision at some point to either stay and work on the farm or walk away, and always think of that disappointment that might come. But then the egg business has grown, so then that, I guess, interested me from the business perspective, and then what I studied. So yeah, it's worked out, I guess.
Talk to me through that, because it's an interesting piece which not many people will talk about in terms of that pressure and that level of expectation. You're third generation. There's a lot of weight that comes with that. So did you feel like you had a choice when it came back, or did you feel like you were going to have to come back here in some way, shape or form, and it was just a matter of shaping it into a job you wanted?
I think it's something that you build up internally. Mum and Dad would never have made me do anything, and they said that. But it's just, at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of pride and history in a lot of farming families that you do want to continue it because it is multi-generational. So it was something I did think about, and yeah, I'm glad that I have now. I did go away and I worked in agribusiness with NAB for about 18 months, so I did get out. And that's what Mum and Dad said to any of myself and my siblings, to go and do something else, never just to roll out of school and then come back on the farm, because I think it's important to spread your wings a little bit.
And so when you came back, what did the business look like, and when was that?
I came back in February 2020, and it's a pretty easy one to remember because that's when everything changed. So I was meant to go overseas. It was my finish of my job at NAB, and then go away for about a month with my partner, and that got cancelled because all the flights got cancelled. So yeah, it's been 5 years, and when it was we had about 70,000 chickens when I came back in 2020 and got involved.
So Feb of 2020, sorry, how many chickens did you say?
70,000.
70,000. Okay. So within kind of what would have been 6 weeks, the world was looking very different. In terms of your egg business, just explain it to us a little bit about where the eggs were going, and just talk me through if that period of maybe the first conversation you remember of what was happening in March of 2020.
So we supply a lot of cafes and restaurants. I think probably at the time it was around 30% of our sales were to those streams, and that shut down very quickly. And therefore, we were fortunate in our industry that supermarkets picked up, because obviously a bit of panic buying was going on and things like that. So that sort of offset the lack of sales through the cafes and restaurants. But I remember pretty vividly, we did have 2 sheds, which is 10,000 birds worth of growth in the pipeline, ready for about July that year. And I was around the corner at the front of the house, and I remember saying to Dad, it was a pretty bad idea. What are we going to do with all these eggs? We're not going to be able to sell them. And I probably used a few other words that were a bit more colourful, but it was a bit like anything. It was just that uncertainty of what's next, and things were changing so quickly. But yeah, we just had to adapt like everyone did and push through.
If you look back, like the last 5 years have been a wild ride. If you had the chance to go back to Feb or even January, tell yourself to go on the holiday earlier and just come back earlier. But what would you have said to yourself about what the last 5 years has taught you?
Upon reflection, I think that I probably didn't understand the challenge, although it was a family business, just some of that other expectation and what comes with being the son in a family business, and trying to then, I guess, manage and lead staff that have been here a long time, that have been involved with my parents, and then as we evolved and do things a little bit differently. So a lot of that was, I probably didn't really realize how difficult that would be. And still now it's probably something that's a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I think I'm pretty fortunate. I don't have too many commitments at the moment, don't have any kids or anything like that. So I can really put a lot of time and energy into the business.
And has there been a certain area or direction that you've really injected yourself into?
I think once you commit to a family business, and you're my age, and you know that it's probably going to make a large part of your life, and there's probably not going to be too many other jobs that you do, you nearly need to be all in and want to make the most of it. And we're getting there. There's always something that pops up, but yeah, I know that I'm probably going to be doing this until I get wheeled out or told to leave by maybe my kids. But so it's a big commitment. I think you need to think pretty carefully of what you want to get out of it.
And so when did you obviously came home involved in basically troubleshooting, when did you move into like a general manager's role, and the conversation around your parents taking a bit of a step back?
So it was about 2 years ago, and a lot of those sorts of decisions were advised a bit with our advisory board, because it is quite a complex thing when it's family. I guess when it comes to salaries and those components, which mum and dad obviously don't want to be involved with those things. So that's where we've been lucky that we've had an advisory board that have been there to help with some of those decisions and recommendations and things like that. There's no doubt that I think I'm probably still very raw and got a hell of a lot to learn in that space. It's probably a little bit premature maybe, but it is what it is.
Talk to me about that advisory board. Interesting, like setup. So who have you got involved, and how long have you guys been working together as a group?
So it started, I think like 20 years ago, with 3 people, Mark, David and Craig, and they all had their different skill sets, which really helped the business grow, because when you work on the ground level, you can know those decisions and what needs to happen. But when it becomes a bit more complex, we need the help and advice from others. So they were involved and helped grow the business a lot. And then in recent years, we've changed it up in the last 6 months, and now we've got a fresh set of people that with a bit of experience that have been on there before. So it's important. I think it's very important for a business like ours, especially a family business, where it can be very tense at times, and we all need some mediation.
Totally. And so and I'm interested, like, kind of in the mechanics of it. So how often do you guys meet, and where are the areas where they like weigh in, and then what areas do they go, this is a Roady family discussion? Yeah,
so they've been involved with everything from a bit of succession to strategic stuff. Like we had a meeting, so now we're meeting quarterly, and informally it was both the sheep, like the farm side, the cropping and the sheep, and the egg business, but we've actually decided to split it because a lot of the meetings were just egg related. So the farm wasn't getting that same sort of advice. But yeah, it's anything from succession to strategic planning and things like that. Some of those things that sound a little bit corny, but I think it's important that we have a nice, clear understanding of where we want to get to and how we're going to get there.
The fact that your parents like decided to implement that 20 odd years ago is, I think, ties into this whole piece of they're incredibly forward thinking. But we've been unfortunate in our timing where your parents have gone on holidays, so we haven't had the chance to meet them. Explain a little bit about the character of your parents and the strengths and what they've brought to ultimately drive this business forward to where it is.
I think, as you said, I think some of these decisions they made, they were very forward thinking, but I don't think it was a lot of instinct and natural. It wasn't as though they sat down and brainstormed it. So I probably don't give them enough credit for it. But yeah, like as you said, they have been early to do some of these things, which have no doubt had positive impacts and helped us get to where we are now.
One of the other areas, which is obviously why we're here, was to look at the relationship that you guys have developed with RSPCA approved. Your parents have had it on farm here for quite some time. So from an animal welfare perspective and what's important to the business, can you probably just like take us up a level and explain from an egg business, what are the key things that you guys care about and ultimately your customers care about as well?
I think I'll go back a step. It was when about nearly 18, 20 years ago when mum and dad, I guess, sought after the accreditation. And at that point, there was a lot of uncertainty around what's free range. And they wanted a point of difference, I guess, to make it a little bit more credible that we are free range. And so, they went down that path, which was obviously a very good decision. But it's not just something they did for a logo. It's obviously comes from that real belief of being animal welfare driven and with a lot of decisions. And it's not easy. We get assessed a few times a year. That's a full walk through our flocks and things like that. So it's something that at the end of the day, it is a logo, but it's something that we want to do anyway. So it's nice to have that, I guess, being
independent assessment.
Yeah, exactly. Just to give us that credibility.
Interesting that you say like it was around your parents and that, I guess, that opportunity that free range was presenting. How has it evolved? Because it feels like eggs are either they're free range or not, but it's a complex industry and there's lots of nuances.
Yeah, so I think they've tried to make it clearer with the labelling requirements. It still at times is a little bit uncertain with some of the labels that are allowed to be done. Like there's nothing illegal about the way some people do it. It's just can be a bit unclear for consumers. And so it's something that as an industry, I think there's some space to refine that a little bit further.
And so, like, what is free range?
There's some finer details, but really it's access to outdoor areas, and that's no greater than 10,000 birds per hectare, which is a lot of birds in a space. We're at 1,500 birds per hectare here, which is considerably under 10,000. But then, it's just access to outdoors really is the crux of it.
And so that difference, like maths is not my strong point here. Let's call it 6 times. I won't ask the banker. 6 times the difference in there. Like, why are you guys running them at 1,500 birds per hectare and not increasing that density?
Similar to the RSPCA, I think it was, this is probably a question for mum and dad, but I think it was similar to just trying to have that point of difference to separate from free range and free range. 1,500 here with us having a bit of land was achievable. Now it would be very difficult because if you were to buy land and try and put infrastructure on it, 1,500, there's a lot of land that doesn't have sheds on it and things like that. So it's something that we've always done. So it's sort of the way we do things around here. We don't change some things.
And in hindsight, though, it sets you guys up in quite a strong position because it's interesting. Like as we've looked at and coming into this, you are the only RSPCA approved farmer. So like there are a few loopholes and things. How does that play into? Well, I guess 2 sides. Let's talk about it from an animal welfare perspective, but then also how does that differentiate you guys in the market?
Yeah, and being the only one, obviously, it's not the easiest to achieve and maintain, which is a good point of difference for us, and that's something that we probably haven't as much in recent years leveraged it as much as we should, because it's not just a logo. It does come with, as I said just before, like some extra requirements. So it definitely has helped us, especially early days, I think, when there was a lot of uncertainty around free range. So having that RSPCA logo helped, and we've never been able to measure the value of it, but I'm sure still to this day, people like seeing that on our branding, knowing that, yeah, we're accredited.
And so when you guys are like the other one, do you see it as going, okay, well, maybe we dial up our marketing to leverage it more versus like, why would you continue doing it?
Yeah, I think we probably could and try and lean on it more, and have consumers understand why we are and why others aren't. Because I think at the moment, if everyone's just thrown into a pool of being free range, then maybe we're not getting the value out of it that we should. But at the same time, right now, with the industry being a bit short, we probably haven't had to think too much about trying to get those little wins. But yeah, something we should definitely consider.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I was keen to chat to you about this, because I'd say there's a few areas of a supermarket which fascinates me, but probably none more than like the egg department. And if we go back, over the last 5 years, like what happened in COVID and just how hard it was to get. But then even now, like I remember I think it was a Sunday there in Melbourne, and I tried like Coles, Woolworths, Aldi, couldn't get them anywhere. And it was nearly like such a simple thing that was so difficult. Like consumer preferences kind of disappeared. It was if I can get a hold of it in any way, shape or form, I'm going to get my eggs.
Yeah, I find it quite sad. And we go to the farmers market in Adelaide fortnightly, and it's sad, but in a nice way. We at the moment have a really like a rushing line to line up to get eggs, and it's really heartwarming in a sense, because to have a lot of support and things like that. But then on the other side, I think it's just, I don't like the fact that people have to hunt so far and wide and also line up for so long just to get something that should be like milk and just a staple. And hopefully we can get back to that point. And as I've said to people since we have had those bird flu outbreaks, like I'd rather be selling eggs in a competitive environment where consumers have the choice versus selling eggs because of what's happened. So yeah, hopefully the times can change and everyone can have eggs on their shelves and their fridges easily.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because even like it's just where you see the shortages pop up, and it was like McDonald's cutting back on the number of McMuffins people can order, and it's just like, this is bizarre.
I think it's just probably what I realize is how we see eggs on the shelves and we see them at cafes, but how much they are used in other different products and things that we may not think about. So yeah, the shortage was hitting far and wide.
Absolutely. I want to ask you a bit about the whole avian influenza piece, because we're still definitely in the middle of it. But from a business perspective, I guess you guys are quite fortunate with where you are, that you haven't been impacted with it so far, touch wood. But when, like, in the industry circles, and I guess the first outbreak happens, and then you start to hear these like consecutive ones, like what are some of those discussions that are happening from like an Australian eggs perspective that, like, as consumers we wouldn't be privy to?
So they're very proactive with just trying to educate farmers what you can do, reinforce all those biosecurity things, which in a way, like the advice we've got from one of our vets is you nearly need to always just assume it's on your doorstep. So if you have that mindset, you'll never be complacent. But yeah, a lot of it was on education, trying to keep farmers up to date, trying not to, I guess, have producers panic too much, which is easier said than done with something like that. But yeah, they've been really good. Like they're always willing to share information. As you said, it's a lot of stuff that happens behind the closed doors, but we get a lot of emails, updates, and there's a lot of resources for us to use.
And so how real was the risk to you guys?
Yeah, incredibly. I think it could happen now. A bird could fly over and into our range areas, and then we could be struck down. So it's just one of those realities that we need to live with. It's awfully scary because it's like those producers here. It takes a lot to rebuild and recover. And it's probably the thing that would keep me up the most is, as we've walked around and seen it all, and all that can be, all those birds that we've seen today would need to be euthanized, and then you got to restart again. And all those people that were working in the grading facility, they wouldn't have any eggs to grade. So it's a real, it's a bit dark, the thought of it, but we just need to make sure we're not complacent and we're doing whatever we can to try and limit the risk.
Can I ask from like, and this is probably more of a business mindset question, like one of the perks of being, I guess, in a management position in a business is you get to influence directions of a business. One of the cons of it is there's consequences and, as you said, like dark things you have to think about and build contingencies over. Like, let's say, take me back 12 months. What are the things that you're running through and trying to come up with scenario A, B, C, D?
Yeah, and that's to go back, Australian Eggs. That was some of the workshops they did. How quickly you can get it on top of things. If you do test, have a positive test, then how do you go about trying to just quickly, get on top of it, start the process. But it really reinforced some things. Like, we've got a boom gate here, which we're just a family farm, and now when we've got visitors, they have to go through a boom gate, which seems quite ridiculous. But it really reinforced and allowed us to, push some of those requirements that we had that might have seemed over the top or a bit extra. So, but I think as well, just reminding the staff that it's out there, because it's that fine balance of trying not to scare staff, but also making sure that people are doing the right thing and trying to do their part. So,
and you've said like the actual rebuilding, because today on the farm, congratulations, most number of birds you've ever had.
Yes. Yeah,
how many have we got on here today?
So it would be about 114,000, I reckon.
And so going from like that with the risk to then no production for a considerable amount of time to then rebuild, it would be at least 12 months with no income?
Yep. So, and that's, I think, it's really hard to know the time frames, but if you're the first farm, I think obviously you first come off the rank, so you can get things done quicker. But if there's a lot of farms that are impacted, then a lot of the government resources, and then you're also down the pecking order to be, I guess, ticked off to go on to the next stage of the process. So it would be a long time, and in all seriousness, it'd probably be something that as a business we'd need to think long and hard, because there's no reason why that it couldn't just happen the next day that you've stocked all your sheds. So it would take a lot of mental and physical strength to do it, but touch wood, hopefully it doesn't.
Fingers crossed. Talk to me about something, because you've made some like structural changes in the business in terms of where you're sourcing the laying hens from, at what age, etc. So what are some of the things that you've built as contingencies to helpfully future-proof yourself?
Yeah, and that's sort of, I guess, a part of the way we've tried to make decisions is thinking a little bit further ahead. Mum and Dad had their successful way of doing things, which was probably never thinking too far ahead, just lots of growth and achieved a lot. But now the business is more of a business in a sense. So we need to try and think not just 1 year, but 5-10 years down the track. So we were getting our 16-week pullets from Victoria, and there was actually that was during bird flu, and we had to get like PIRSA, which is our primary industries. We had to get a lot of documentation to get those birds, monitor them, had to report any mortalities and send some off for testing. So we got through that. But now we get our own day olds, and we do that with another family farm about 10 k's away. So we get batches of about 31,000 every 10 weeks and have them from day old to 16 weeks, and then transfer them to farm. So it's been another challenge that probably wasn't as simple as what we thought initially, but we're getting there, and it's been good fun.
I'd love to know, because I was thinking this before when we looked at 2 weeks ago, you're using a different processing floor. How do you take your staff on that journey of change?
That's probably we talked about this with some of our staff only a couple of weeks ago. Being a family business, we've always naturally a lot of dinner table conversations and kept being quite closed book with what we're up to. And it might be only once there's steel being dropped off in a paddock that staff know we're building a new shed. And I think I've learned that now that we've got way more non-family members working here, especially in key roles, that the more that they are a part of or understand where we're going, the more engaged they are, because they And yeah, it took me a while to get there, I think. And yeah, now we try and keep, like we said, what our plans are over the next, by 2030 and things like that. Like some of them we won't get to, but I think it's just important for them to, a lot of these people work bloody hard for our business, and I feel like they deserve now to know what's going on and what we want to do.
For sure. Talk to me, one of those people that just ticked over 20 years in your business, Christine. What's it been like? Because she's literally seen you from when you were tiny.
Yeah, she talks about that. Christine's not very tall, and she used to talk about when she was taller than me, and then obviously I was probably just I would have been 9 when she started, and yeah, she's been here since we would have had 4 sheds, about 4 sheds, maybe 6, and now we've got 22. So she's been doing it for a long time, and she would have collected more eggs here than anyone in our history. And yeah, it's nice for those people like that have come along for the journey. And yeah, now seeing, I guess, the bit of the change in generation, and yeah, been a massive part of it.
Because you've got a relatively young management team, really, don't you?
Yeah, we do. And I think that means we've got some flaws, especially in that experience department, which I guess where mum and dad come into play a fair bit, because we need to lean on them. But on the other side, I guess it's how we deal with weeks like this, because we, got a lot of energy and motivation to really push through, and a lot of passion. So when it's super busy, we have to put in a bit of work, but it extends further. Like a lot of people, everyone chips in, which is really nice.
A bit of naivety too. Just be like, oh, sure, we'll do all of those things in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think, we're our own worst enemy at times. So that's why I think mum and dad are probably, in Switzerland or something right now, not really having any sympathy for this week. They'd be going, you brought it upon yourself. But yeah, it's all a part of it.
Talk to me a little bit about so obviously over the years you've built more sheds, you've increased the number of birds. That processing facility though is pretty remarkable, and the packaging facility. Would that be the single biggest change that you guys have had in potentially a generation?
Yeah, it is, because it's also the most expensive. So it's a big commitment to doing, to really committing to egg production, because we wouldn't have done it. Like, it's a lot bigger than probably we need now. But as I said earlier, that's one of the decisions we've tried to make, is just to future-proof ourselves a bit. But it is, it's been a long time coming, and was always, I guess, on the horizon. And I look back at some of our advisory board papers from a decade ago, and it was this master facility, and what it would look potentially be. And now we've got there, and it's nice to up and running. We probably haven't celebrated it over the past sort of 2 weeks. We try to smell the roses a bit, because that's one thing as a family we realise you achieve something, and then the next day comes around, and you've, even today, as you said, probably a good excuse for a couple of beers later when we've got the most birds that we've ever had on farm. But yeah, it is a big milestone, and it's nice to see it up and running.
And the knowledge that you guys need, I think it's fascinating. It's this world that no one would see, and we wouldn't have even seen it had we not been here. But you've got a technical expert from Malaysia out here who's helping induct your team into it.
It's that in itself is, because he's got to go home soon, and then he's a long way away. But yeah, it's just nice when you see staff so engaged in learning the new processes, because I think that was probably something that was a little bit nerve-wracking. Not everyone likes change and the way we do things. It does the exact same thing, but just does it a lot quicker and just a bit bigger, but a bit more technical. So yeah, it's nice to see staff really soak it in, and now we don't need to be up there, and they're running it smoothly, which is nice.
You talked about I guess this looking a bit more ahead and forward planning. So as we look down the line, obviously there's yourself and James and that level of experience that's coming through. But what are some of the other skill sets that you guys have in your business today? But what are the types of skills that you're going to need if we look 5-10 years down the track?
We have some gaps, no doubt. Probably we don't currently have a farm manager here, which means that we spread a little bit thin. Especially we've got new young birds in today, which require a lot of attention just to make sure they get off to the best start. But then at the moment, HR and some of these, as you grow, they're not what you probably needed someone to do full-time or nearly full-time 5-10 years ago, but now it's a part of that support that you need for when we were growing. So, and we're trying to think ahead, because if you get the right person, the right role, then it's the best decision you make. So, it's just a bit more support for probably existing staff as well. Just so, we want to we want to create a structure that allows people to go on leave and things like that without having to worry about who's going to do that or whether that can be done well. So we're probably a long way off it, but we'll get there.
Well, we talked about like simple complexity when we were out there before, because I think it is. It's like, it seems so basic in not a bad way, but it's like, keep the birds alive, get them to produce, but it was everything down to the amount of light they've got in those first 16 to say 24 weeks, the amount of food they're getting, the water they're getting, that will have lifelong impacts. I guess it's no different to a child, really, is it, in terms of stunting or nutritional development, etc. But there's so many little things that add up to having a successful egg on the consumer's plate.
Yeah, and it is, when you peel it back, it is very simple. And it's just, if things go wrong, they can really impact. And feed, water, being comfortable in the environment they're in, all contribute to egg production. It's just, you're always striving to get that 1% more, because 1% more across 100,000 chickens is a fair few eggs. It's just, if everything's running smoothly and nothing's breaking down, or we've got no issues, it is quite simple. Except those days
Few and far between.
Rarely seem to happen.
So I guess, I think the beauty of our work is, like, you end up following these journeys. If we're sitting here in 10 years' time, what do you think the business looks like? And what mark do you hope to have made on it, and especially on the people that you guys have here?
10 years.
Let's go 20.
20 years. I'll nearly be 50.
Sounds young.
We want to grow, and we talked about this internally the other week. We want to grow, but I think we don't want our growth to be measured on just the number of birds. Like, I think we really want to have a workplace which people love coming to work. They feel a part of what we're doing. And hopefully that means that we've producing more eggs. But part of just being a good business that, people enjoy our product, hopefully. And I think we've never really put a number of chickens or anything on the board, because I don't think that's something that we've ever done. Mum, dad, my grandparents, that's never been a driver of what we do. I think we try and stick pretty true to just, ticking along and trying to run a business that people enjoy working at, that hopefully is profitable and can continue to grow.
Definitely profitable. Needs to be.
Yeah, it's true.
Mate, well, thank you so much for having us out here today. I think it's a huge amount of time that you've given us and your team, and the exposure to the business. It's been bloody fascinating. So thank you.
No worries. No, thank you for coming. I think we always like to show people around, and I guess especially when people like showing you through the facilities and how interested you were, it reminds us, we see it every day, so we probably don't get that sense of wow, but no, thank you for coming out and spending the time here.
Cheers. Now, they do say that feedback is a gift, and it's something that we absolutely love to have here. If you want to flick us a message, send us one on your favourite social media app. We'll get back to you. Otherwise, if you'd like to, please rate and review. A 5-star rating or a little bit of feedback always helps us continue to make the show better. And we have the conversations that matter. Enjoy your day. Keep smiling. We'll see you soon. Bye.